Alongside Nick Rice, I'm Chris Sylvester here for the AFC West preview as we near the NFL season. Preseason starts today for a couple of these teams. Let's start with the Denver Broncos, the defending AFC champions. Got annihilated 43-8 by the Seahawks in the Super Bowl. They do bring back Peyton Manning. They do bring back Demaryius Thomas, Julius Thomas, Wes Welker, but they do lose Eric Decker and Noshawn Moreno, two key cognates on that offense. How do you expect them to respond? Do you expect them to be another team that can get back to the Super Bowl this season?
Well, the good news for the Denver Broncos is they have a couple more opportunities to take down those Seahawks. It all starts tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern, or 7 p.m. Pacific, for preseason week number 1. They also face in week 3 the regular season. One thing I do expect is for that defense to be much more formidable than the 43 points they gave up. Sure, some of that was on special teams and defense, but overall, Aqib Talib enters into the mix. You have a healthy and a dominant Von Miller returning back in the lineup, and also an up-and-coming superstar in the pot roast, Terrence Knighton. I think this defense will be a little bit more improved than their towards the bottom ranks of a year ago statistically, and that NFL record-setting offense from a season ago. You can't expect them to repeat, but get very close, especially when you get a Demaryius Thomas back and a Wes Welker over the middle.
Yeah, it will be very interesting to see how Denver responds, especially on that defensive side. Like you said, the additions to Marcus Ware, Hakeem Talib, you got Ward out there as well.
True.
I mean, you do lose Champ Bailey, but I mean, what's he really going to give at his age at this point? Moving on, San Diego Chargers, the team that did beat Denver in the regular season last year. I know you got a lot of insight on them. A team that upset the Bengals, if you want to call it that, in the first round of the NFL playoffs.
I don't know if it was necessarily an upset. I think just this was the Bengals beat themselves. In the divisional round, though, I think they could have pulled out one of the bigger upsets, given their defense would have had the acquisitions they had this year, last season. They got Brandon Flowers from Kansas City. They re-signed Donald Butler. And they got a couple other offensive additions, including a Donald Brown, who they took via the Indianapolis Colts. Also throw in Jerry Atauchu and Jason Verrett via the draft. And you have yourself an amazing secondary filled with guys that can not only play, but they love to do what they do.
So you sound like you're very high on San Diego this upcoming season.
I mean, yes, obviously Denver is going to be the class, or at least the most talented team in the AFC West. But when you take a look at San Diego, all the potential they have in store, and the fact that the Broncos may not be as good offensively, you got to give San Diego a real legitimate shot to get the wild card spot. I don't think they are a division winner, but in the postseason, they may as well play those Denver Broncos with a chance to move on.
Let's move out Midwest now. Kansas City Chiefs, another playoff team from the AFC West last season. I'm sure Chiefs fans won't want to remember, but a heartbreaking, just a choke job of a loss against the Indianapolis Colts in round 1 last season. How do you expect them to respond, Andy Reid, in his second year?
Yeah, well, many people don't remember. This was a 2-14 ball club just a couple years ago. They did have a solid draft, and they brought over a Andy Reid as your head coach. And while I love what Kansas City does, following a 9-0 start, they only win 2 of their final 8 games, and obviously fall in some heartbreaking fashion to the Indianapolis Colts. I don't expect much out of the Kansas City Chiefs this year. They didn't do a whole lot in free agency, and they have a very old defense led by an aging Derek Johnson. Also, Alex Smith on the offensive side, not too impressive there.
All right, final team. We move up north, the Oakland Raiders,
Yes,
the quote-unquote joke of the AFC West.
Might not be anymore.
The last decade or so, but yes, they do bring in Matt Schaub, Maurice Jones-Drew. You got to like the pick of Khalil Mack. I mean, you got to like the direction that this Oakland team is heading in, even though it might take a couple of years for them to get there.
Well, yeah, this is the most positive looking team down there in the Bay that they have had in basically 14 years, which isn't saying anything at all. This is a team that hasn't won more than 5 games since 2002, but you bring over Khalil Mack, obviously drafting that Derek Carr from Fresno State in the 5th round. That's the talk amongst the rookies that may come up and make some plays. Matt Schaub, your quarterback. I think this is a team that may win about 5 or 6 games this coming season, but that AFC West. They also play the NFC West. Those Raiders will have an extremely tough schedule.
All right, real quickly before we wrap it up here, what are your predictions top to bottom this season in the AFC West?
If I were to say win-loss total, I think Denver wins about 12 games. San Diego about maybe 9-7 to 10-6. Chiefs rounded out at 7-9, and also the Raiders at 5-11. Should be interesting. And in the postseason, expect San Diego and Denver to get very far.
For Nick Rice, I'm Chris Sylvester. Thanks for joining us here on a Thursday evening for our AFC West preview.
Hello and welcome to Fantasy Fanatics presented by Hertz. Hertz puts you in the driver's seat. I am Jason Gerline. Why don't we just introduce ourselves? Let's go around, starting to my left.
Hello, I'm Daniel Levy.
And on my right.
I'm Noah Friedman.
And today, you guessed it, we're talking about fantasy football, folks. So, let's start at the number one position, quarterback. So, who are we looking for a quarterback this year in the draft?
Here's my strategy for quarterbacks in this draft. If I can't get Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, or Aaron Rodgers, even Aaron Rodgers is a little bit iffy, I'm waiting till the later rounds and I'm taking a guy like Jay Cutler or Tony Romo, who look to have a lot of upside, and they seem to be very undervalued in fantasy, in mock drafts, and overall in ESPN standard leagues.
Noah?
Yeah, I mean, Daniel touched on it. You know, the top three quarterbacks in this fantasy football season are Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, and Aaron Rodgers. But you have to take them in earlier rounds. I mean, you can't let those guys just pass you up. I mean, Tony Romo is a good quarterback, but I don't see him staying healthy after coming off of back surgery. And Jay Cutler is also very injury prone. So you have to take those guys when they're available in rounds 4, 5, and 6.
But Jay Cutler does have one of the least blitz-heavy schedules in the NFL, so I look for him to not be under pressure as much this season as he has been in past seasons.
As long as that O-line can hold, Cutler should be fine. Let's move on to the running back position. Noah?
For running backs, I mean, it's easy. They're the top catalysts in the entire fantasy football world. Adrian Peterson is definitely number one on my charts. LaShawn McCoy led the league in rushing last year. He's definitely number two. And then also rounding it out, Jamal Charles of the Kansas City Chiefs is a great dual threat running back. He can catch the ball out of the backfield and score touchdowns. I mean, look what he did in Oakland.
Yeah, in a PPR league, I'm definitely looking for Jamal Charles. But in a standard league, I actually really like LaShawn Shady McCoy this year. I think he has a ton of upside, and I think being taken as the second running back, I would take him as my first I would take him as the first overall pick in most drafts. Other than that, if you can't get one of those, I'd say top 6 running backs, again, I would probably take an elite receiver or an elite quarterback in the first round, and then after that, I would move on to a running back in the later rounds.
Looks like we have a caller. Caller, what's your name?
Hey guys, this is Aaron from Pacific Palisades. I was wondering, who's a top 10 running back that you don't think you should draft because you don't think he's going to have a good season, maybe because of his team or not getting enough carries, something going on this season?
You know, DeMarco Murray, I really like this guy, but if he can't stay healthy, I think if he were to stay healthy, he's definitely a top 10 back, but he's got a lot of risk, and he won't have as much reward as those top 5 or 6 guys.
Well, Aaron, first of all, Pacific Palisades is a great city. Good choice. Second of all, there's this kid named Arian Foster from the Houston Texans. He was so hyped when he played Indianapolis in his first ever game. He ran for 3 touchdowns and everything, and people were drafting him in the first 2 or 3 rounds. But he's been injured each of those last 2 or 3 years, so he's definitely an overhyped running back at this point.
Sure.
Yeah, Foster seems like he might have to be the savior of the Texans this season since they're going through a rebuilding stage. But even then, he could possibly fail the Texans, and they might have to revert to a second-string running back. Let's move on to wide receivers. Wide receivers for this draft.
I love the Chicago Bears wide receivers this year. Again, they're not playing a very strong defensive. They don't have a very strong defensive schedule. I think that Brandon Marshall is going to have a great season. And then Alshon Jeffrey taking it in that number 2 receiver slot, I think that he could be a major threat. Other than that, Golden Tate, I think he will be fabulous. Calvin Johnson in triple coverage, Golden Tate on the other end. With one guy on him, he's going to beat him every time, and he has some of the best hands in the NFL.
Well, if you're talking about main guys, Daniel, I believe Calvin Johnson's number 1.
Yeah, of course.
He was voted the number 2 player on NFL Network's top 100 players, and he's really just transformed that wide receiver position. People are comparing him to Jerry Rice. He could very well supplant Jerry Rice when it's all said and done. Also, A.J. Green of the Cincinnati Bengals. He just got his quarterback just got a really big extension. A.J. Green's next up in line. He's a great wide receiver as well.
Yeah.
And then finally, Des Bryant. If Tony Romo can stay healthy, like I said before, coming off of that back surgery. Throwing to Des Bryant should be no problem in double coverage. He's
Yeah.
a great wide receiver to be a part of.
AJ Green does look really good this year, and I like that and Andy Dalton because Andy Dalton has to prove himself this year, and he has one good guy to throw to, and that's AJ Green.
One quick thing. So you discussed the Detroit Lions wide receiver core. Is it a bad decision to draft both Johnson and Tate?
No, I mean, if you can get both of those guys, I think that's a solid wide receiver 1 and 2. Again, Calvin Johnson, obviously one of the best in the best in the NFL.
I think
and
the problem with that is, though, Daniel, they're on the same team. They're going to have the same bye week. That's
That's
two wide
true.
receivers that you're going to have
Yeah,
to fill
you have
positions
to watch
for
the
when
bye
they come
weeks.
into their bye week.
That's all the time we have today on Fantasy Fanatics. Once again, I'm Jason Gerline.
and I'm Daniel Levy.
And I'm Noah Friedman.
Thank you for joining us.
Hello and welcome to the Red Light Sports Show, hosted by me, Jordan Hunter.
I'm Zach Ferber.
I'm Christian Duan.
Our sponsor is Kentucky Fried Chicken. Finger licking good. Okay, our first topic we have today, guys, the top 5 rookies of this coming season. Who do you think is going to stand out this year?
I personally think if Johnny Manziel plays, watch out, Rookie of the Year. He will be the Rookie of the Year if he plays. Also, Teddy Bridgewater, the young man out of Minnesota, he has a lot poised in his future.
Well, I like your picks there, but I'm gonna have to go with the number 1 draft pick of this 2014 draft, Jadeveon Clowney. He's such a beast. He's a monster. Him alongside with J.J. Watt, I think he'll definitely be one of the best rookies in the league.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. Another guy who stood out to me, Kelvin Benjamin, who went to Carolina. I've heard he hasn't dropped a pass all camp long, so he's looking coming in as Cam Newton's number one target. Another guy, Eric Ebron from the Detroit Lions. He's fitted to be the number 1 tight end, passing Brandon Pettigrew, and he's gonna make a great tandem with him and Calvin Johnson. Okay, so we're gonna go and we're gonna break down who we think will finish in the top of each division, starting with the AFC East. Who do you think will win in that one?
Personally, I know it's not going to be the Jets. Like let's be real here. It's not going to be the Jets. But I'm going to stick with New England.
Yeah. Why? Why do you think New England?
Well, New England's got that veteran core led by Tom Brady. Gronk's coming back. They showed that veteran leadership, and they're just going to come on top. Maybe another 12-4 season.
I'm also have to go with the Patriots. Yeah, they have Tom Brady. They have Gronk. Sucks what happened to Aaron Hernandez, as you guys know. And then they have some good running backs coming. They have some good running backs, and they're very good offensively. They can pick up defensively, but I definitely see the Patriots coming out of the AFC East.
Yeah, you guys are both correct. Their secondary got much better with Darrelle Revis coming in, Brandon Browner once he returns from suspension, and then you bring back Alfonso Dennard and Kyle Arrington. And their secondary, they're looking to lock everyone down after Aqib Talib is gone. Okay, AFC North, always a competitive division.
Yes.
Yep. Well, I'm not really sure this year. It's really close between all the teams, but I'm just gonna go out and say Cincinnati. I'm gonna take Cincinnati over Baltimore. Cincinnati, Andy Dalton, that new extension, he's ready to lead, and AJ Green, he's ready to lead with him.
Yeah, I like that tandem, Andy Dalton and AJ Green. They've been doing well season before in this same. So I definitely see them being a good tandem, sort of like a Stafford and Johnson type of thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. Dalton needs to play up to his big contract. AJ Green, Marvin Jones will be a breakout player for them too. AFC South, Texans, Colts, Jaguars, Titans.
I'm gonna have to go with the Colts. I like Andrew Luck. I like all their I like their defense. I definitely really like Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck's one of my top players for fantasy and also top 5 quarterbacks. So I'm definitely going with the Colts.
We're just gonna have to agree on everything today. Andrew Luck, he's gonna lead the way. I personally think the Colts will be the only team to go over 500.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the Colts I think will win it. A team that I think might be a sleeper and win some games is the Titans. they really bolster their offensive line, and the Lockers has to prove whether he can be a good quarterback this year. Bishop Sankey coming in as a rookie, and last AFC West with the Super Bowl losers Broncos.
That is very tough.
You got the Broncos, you got the Chargers, you got the Chiefs.
Even the Raiders.
Even the Raiders, yeah. The Raiders got Khalil Mack. They picked up on their defense. But, I mean, same as always, I'm going to have to go with the Broncos. I like Peyton Manning and all the additions that they're bringing back, and Wes Welker. And yeah, I definitely like the Broncos in this one. I actually see the Broncos making the Super Bowl and winning it.
What about the Chargers? Do you think they can contend with them, or?
As of right now, no. Because, No, I don't. I just don't see the Chargers contending with the Broncos in this one.
I'm going to disagree here. I personally do. I think it's going to be the Broncos #1, and then the Chiefs. They didn't really do much on the free agent market. They did bring back Jamal Charles after that very short holdout. But I personally think it's going to be Broncos 1 and Chargers 2 at the Chiefs 3.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs will regress this year, and I agree with you. The Broncos. Well, that was it. You guys heard who we think will be the best rookies. You've heard our predictions for the AFC. Now let's hear what you guys think. Call in at 1-800-423-7569. This has been the Red Light Sports Show with Jordan Hunter.
Zach Ferber.
And Christian Duhon.
Thank you. Have a good day.
5, 4,
3,
2.
You are on air, 710 AM ESPN LA Radio. It is time for Three's Company. I'm your host, Jake Leiker, with, of course, Ami Nelson and Carl Moglan. As usual, we're sponsored today by Dunkin' Donuts. Dunkin' Donuts, America runs on Dunkin', and America runs on football. And it's a good thing that it is almost back. Today we'll be talking about the NFC. We'll be breaking things down division by division, see what the panel thinks. And, of course, we'll start with the elite NFC West, of course, home of the Super Bowl defending champions, Seattle Seahawks, and of course the 49ers, the St. Louis Rams, and the Arizona Cardinals. Ami, we will start with you. Who do you think will come out on top of this division?
I think it's going to be the Seahawks, honestly. They have a really young, good team, and I just think they're going to come out on top.
Well, we'll see. Of course, sometimes you see that Super Bowl slump. Do you think that Seattle will fall to the Super Bowl slump, Carl, or do you think they'll be able to come
I think the first thing I should say is that I think this is the best division in football, but previously the NFC North had had that claim, but man, this division looks tough. The Cardinals are getting better. The Rams are looking much better this year as well. They have one of the best defenses in football. And then you've got to look at Seattle and San Francisco. They're the two best teams in football likely last year. So with 4 good teams, it's hard to say. But in the end, I actually think San Francisco is going to edge out Seattle for this title. I think that Seattle will take a slight slump. I still think they're making the playoffs, but as a wild card, not as a division title.
Oh, we'll see. I think that, as John Wooden said, winning takes talent, repeating takes character, and I think while the Seahawks have probably lost a little bit of motivation, they certainly have the character. I think they'll come out on top in a very interesting division. Now we go to the NFC North. Now, of course, we're a little biased here. I'm a Packer fan. Ami over here is a Lions fan. Carl's over here is a Vikings fan. But we might have to come together for something here. NFC North. Last year, 7-8-1 was enough to win the division after so many injuries. What do you think we'll find this year and who will come out on top? Carl, we'll start with you this time.
I think it really is a 2-horse race between the Packers and the Bears. Those are the two best teams in this division. Both are led by their quarterback, Jay Cutler for the Bears and Aaron Rodgers for the Packers. But if Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, and I think he will this year, despite a brutal injury last year, I think with Aaron Rodgers healthy, this Packers team has a chance to do really good things next season, possibly make a Super Bowl.
Well, we'll see. That's a bold statement there. Ami, what do you think?
I'm going to have to agree with Carl. I think Aaron Rodgers recovering from his injury, I think that they will come out on top over the Bears.
Yeah, angry Aaron Rodgers is the best Aaron Rodgers there is. They'll certainly be a very motivated bunch. I still don't know how much to trust Jay Cutler. I think the Lions will be able to actually take second place in this division. I think getting rid of Jim Schwartz as coach was important. Caldwell's in now, Stafford can back to his normal ways. And with that, we will move to the NFC South. Now, this one is a very interesting division. You have Cam Newton and the Panthers. You have Matt Ryan and the Falcons trying to rebound from a terrible season last year. You have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers who just brought in Josh McCown and who now head coach Lovie Smith. And, of course, the New Orleans Saints led by Drew Brees. Ami, you get to go first this time.
I think it's going to be the Saints.
What? Very, very, I like it. It's blunt, but what?
because they're
Because they're the Saints. I mean, after that performance last year, you know, some people say they don't need an explanation the way they performed last year and what they've done over free agency. Carl, what do you think?
I mean, it's just the thing is the Falcons were really disappointing last year. I mean, many people had them winning that division. The Buccaneers are still in the rebuilding process, and the Panthers are up and coming, and I think the Saints are kind of on the downhill. Honestly, Drew Brees is past his prime. And the Saints have had their time, but I think it's time for the Panthers to be the best team in the South, led by Cam Newton, who I think is head-to-head with Andrew Luck. It's a very close battle between the two, but I think that Panthers team is going to win that
You
division.
know, speaking of close battles, of course, the NFC South is really tight. I'm ready for a plot twist. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to take this division. Lovie Smith, the new head coach, revamps this defensive team that already was one of the best teams in the league in turnover margin, and now you have Josh McCown at quarterback. A good draft. I'm excited. Last, the kings of mediocrity, the NFC East. Carl, who wins this
You know what?
division?
It's an impossible division to call. 4 champions in the last 4 years. I mean, who do you go to? The Eagles were the last year, Redskins year before, but in the end, I think that with a healthy RG3, the Redskins will return to their former glory atop the NFC East.
All right, very quickly now, who do you think is going to take it?
I think it's to be the Redskins. I mean, obviously RG3 is an amazing quarterback, but you have to consider that how injury prone he is, and that might affect the Redskins later in the season.
I take Redskins too. The three of us agree here on Three's Company. We're going to be right back after a short commercial break. Of course, if you want to call in, it's 1-800-555-2525. We will be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Hello and welcome to the Coast to Coast Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Chanel. This is Isaac Glasser and Ian Martin. We are brought to you by Fruit Roll-Ups. Eat one. All right, so we're talking about the NFL AFC today, man. What division are we starting off with today, Isaac?
It's going to be the North. Got to be the North. The Ravens, the Steelers, the Browns, and the Cincinnati Bengals. Let's get started.
All right, what team do you think will win this division? Or what's the surprise team of this division this year?
I'm going to go surprise team. I really think the Cleveland Browns have a good shot, even with the suspension of their best receiver, maybe one of the best receivers in all of football, Josh Gordon. But the additions of Johnny Manziel, I think, are really going to start bringing some life to that Cleveland Browns organization. They haven't had a marquee player in that organization for so long, and a player like Manziel who goes out and does all this crazy stuff. I think as much as we hate to say it, he's going to be a very positive influence on this Cleveland Browns organization.
Right.
Right. I mean, in terms of the popularity that he's bringing to the city, combined with what's going on right now with the Cavaliers, Cleveland has gone from nationally out of the spotlight to all of a sudden everything's about Cleveland.
Joke. They were a joke.
Right, exactly. So I think that Hoyer's going to start week 1, to be honest, even though Manziel might be the popular pick. But, the Browns are a sleeper. I'm personally going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers here. Even though I dislike the Steelers personally, I'm a Ravens guy. I think the Steelers have a very good team this year. They've been quietly improving. They nearly slipped into the playoffs at the end of last year, and Roethlisberger can always be trusted. Le'Veon Bell had a great year last year, so I like the Steelers.
One thing about the Browns before I pick the team that I think is going to win this division, the Browns need Johnny Manziel to start. Because if Josh Gordon is suspended for 1 year, they need someone to bring that spark to that offense because there's no one else that can bring that. You got Devon Best who got charged for marijuana charges and a bunch of stuff in Miami. And then you got Josh Gordon. They're just losing players all over the place. And then they traded away Trent Richardson last year. It's just it's something's going wrong with that franchise, and they need to figure it out quick. And I think Johnny Manziel is that answer.
They do have Ben
for right
Tate.
now.
They have Ben Tate.
Yeah,
He
Ben
could
Tate-
be
Ben
a
Tate.
big addition. He never really got much attention in Houston, but he could be big in Cleveland.
All right, so my pick for this division is obviously the Cincinnati Bengals. I think that's a
All right.
no-brainer on this division. What do you think, Isaac?
They won last year. I think that's an interesting pick. I mean, Dalton, we'll see if this new contract helps his play at all, but it'll be interesting to see. Tight division.
I think it's going to be the Cincinnati Bengals as well. Their defense is just too stellar. Vontaze Buffett is one of the best linebackers in all of football right now. Andy Dalton, maybe with a little more to play for, he might start to step up his play and start to play for that $100 million.
AFC East. That is where my Dolphins are,
That's
man.
where your
That's where my Dolphins are.
Giants, Patriots, and the Bills.
Don't be surprised if the Bills do something this year, man. The Bills are pretty good, but I always, I'm going to pick the Dolphins this year. Dolphins, they need to get a good year out of Tannehill, and they need a good year out of Noshawn Moreno, and always need to get that sack production out of Cam Wake.
I like the Jets this year, to be honest. I think a lot of people are underrating them, but what they did last year, scoring the least touchdowns in the NFL, but finishing 8-8, their defense is stellar. Muhammad Wilkerson, one of the best young defensive players in the game. The Jets under a revamped offense with Decker and Ivory, and we'll see if Smith is improved. I think they'll take this one.
I'm gonna have to stay with Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. A much improved secondary with Brandon Browner, who's iffy in Seattle. I know I'm a Seattle fan. I saw him play firsthand. Not a gigantic fan of him, but he's still an upgrade at the position. And along with Darrelle Revis, that really helps them out in that AFC. And it's really a passing conference. And yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the Patriots here.
All right, moving on to the South. This division has one team that's really the clear-cut favorite here, and that's the Indianapolis Colts.
That's the Colts, and it's all because of the guy at the helm. That's Andrew Luck. The Colts, looking at the other teams in this division, Jacksonville, maybe they're a little improved. The other teams in this division, Houston and Tennessee, I think the Colts really should take this pretty easily, but we could see a surprise pick in like the Titans.
Quickly, Ian.
Yeah, Andrew Luck is such a good young QB. He throws the ball so well. It reminds you of a young Peyton Manning, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He took over. You can't really compare him to anybody else now. He's with Indianapolis Colts. Moving on to the West, I think, and of course the Denver Broncos. You got Oakland Raiders and the Kansas City Chiefs. Who do you think is going to win this division? You think there's going to be a surprise this year, Isaac?
I like the Chargers this year. I like Phillip Rivers. I like Keenan Allen. I think they've done great things over the past couple off seasons. Brandon Flowers. I like the Chargers.
The tough division for the Broncos is going to be key for this year.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the Broncos. Some additions in the secondary and on defense. I think it's their division to lose.
Tough schedule for them. Tough schedule. But I still think the Broncos are still going to pull this out. Peyton Manning's too good. The offense is too good. And the defense also got better this offseason. All right, thanks everyone for listening. That's Isaac Lasser. That's Ian Martin. I'm Jeremy Schnell. Brought to you by Fruit Rolls.
Fruit roll-ups, yep.
Live from the National Sports Radio Broadcast Studio, I'm Miles Walker here alongside Joshua Gurovic and Liam Gentile. We're going to be breaking down the AFC Conference today. First, we're going to start off with the AFC East. Please, Joshua, break it down for me.
I think that in the AFC East, the Patriots will probably come out on top. I think Miami, the Dolphins are much improved. The Jets will have a mediocre season again, and the Buffalo Bills also will be much improved. But I think the Patriots will take this division by at least 2 games.
And Liam, who's your sleeper team in this division?
Sleeper team? I don't know if they're considered a sleeper, but I don't think they'll win it. But the Dolphins are, like you said, really improved. They got Cameron Wake, who needs to start stepping it up a little bit. They got Noshawn Moreno, who is just a solid running back. He did a lot for the Broncos, and I think they'll have a good run this year.
Personally, I'm going to agree, and I'm going to say the Miami Dolphins are going to come away with the division this year. I feel as if it's their time. Their defense is looking revamped. Ryan Tannehill, I think, is primed for a Pro Bowl caliber type season, and I think the Dolphins are going to take this. But now we're going to move on to the next division in the AFC North. Now we have four teams in this division: in Cincinnati Bengals, Cleveland Browns, Baltimore Ravens, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Some new quarterbacks here, a lot of rookie quarterbacks. Please break this down for me.
I think that the Cincinnati Bengals will win this division, but it will be very tight. I think that Cleveland is going to be a pretty good team this year with Johnny Manziel. I think eventually through the season he'll probably start. Pittsburgh Steelers will probably have a losing record this year. I don't think they picked up any good pieces. And the Baltimore Ravens will stay about where they were. So I think that Cincinnati and Baltimore will be competing for the division, but in the end, Cincinnati will probably win by about a game.
And do you feel if Johnny Manziel has a legitimate chance to start Week 1?
I don't think that Johnny Manziel would be able to start Week 1. I think that Coach Mike Pettine's going to go with Brian Hoyer to start, and then he'll see. And if Brian Hoyer makes any mistakes, then Johnny Manziel will get the start.
Also, Liam?
I'm going to go with the Bengals. Andy Dalton now has something to play for. He's got a lot of incentives in his new contract. But the Browns have a lot of hype around them right now. They have a lot of fire. I think Brian Hoyer will start, but Manziel's going to be a close second.
I'm also going to agree. I'm going with Cincinnati Bengals in this division. I think this is their division to lose. I think they actually have a good chance to make it to the Super Bowl. Now we're going to move on to the AFC South. And in this division, we have the Indianapolis Colts, Tennessee Titans, Houston Texans, and Jacksonville Jaguars. Who do you feel is the best team in this?
I think that the best team in this division is the Colts by far, but I think that they will end up winning the division handily. But I think that the Houston Texans have made a huge improvement. I think that Davian Clowney was a great pick for them. Him and J.J. Watt are a great tandem, and I think that Houston will be much improved, but Indianapolis will run away with this division.
Liam.
I totally agree. The Colts are stacked for a winning record. Andrew Luck has T.Y. Hilton coming back. He was great last year. He stepped up when Reggie Wayne was injured. Reggie Wayne's coming back. Great piece. Their defense also good. Robert Mathis, he's shown himself. He's proven himself, and I think that he'll prove himself again. And they're just stacked to win.
Indianapolis Colts all the way. And now we're going to move on to the AFC West. This division with the AFC champions, Broncos, the San Diego Chargers, Kansas City Chiefs, and lastly, the Oakland Raiders. Now, Joshua, do you feel as if this is going to be the Broncos division to lose, or maybe the Chargers are going to come up on them?
I think that this is a very tough division to pick. I think that Kansas City, they locked up Jamal Charles, who they needed, but they didn't really add anybody else, so I think they'll probably finish third. Oakland will be out of it in fourth. I think this division will be between the Denver Broncos and the San Diego Chargers. I think the Chargers are much improved, and I think the Broncos improved their secondary greatly, but I think that the Broncos will end up winning by one game in this division.
Liam?
I agree that the Broncos might take it, but I disagree with about the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are going to be a close second. They started off great last year. Jamal Charles, he's no risk, high reward kind of guy. He knows what to do with the ball. Donnie Avery, kind of not a big name, but he knows what to do. And Alex Smith has some places to go, and their defense isn't too bad with Tamba Ali on that defensive line.
Broncos 12-4, San Diego Chargers 11-5. Watch out for the Chargers in the playoffs, folks. And as always, I'm Miles Walker, alongside Liam and Joshua from Lasso Sports Radio Broadcast.
I'm Nick Kohler, and this is NFL Now, alongside
Isaiah Hooper
and Ryan Vance.
We're going to break down the NFL for you, starting off with the NFC East. Isaiah, who do you have winning this one?
I have the Cowboys. I've been a Cowboy fan all my life. I know, they're really down right now, actually, because they didn't get Manziel, and that was a really silly decision. I'm not really sure why they didn't pick Manziel. But they did get some solid players. They got a DN replacing DeMarcus Ware, which sadly he left. He was our main defensive player behind Sean Lee. And we also got a wide receiver. And, I think the Cowboys this year, the past few years, they haven't really been doing anything. But I think this year is really a retaliation year. They got Zach Martin, offensive center from Notre Dame, and I think he's going to really be a big support for their line this year. And the Cowboys just need to have confidence in themselves if they really want to get back in this division.
Right.
I totally see what you're saying with the Manziel thing, but I think that's too much to bring Manziel to Jerry World. I'm going to say the Redskins. I think Robert Griffin goes off, and with the wide receiver core he has, Garcon, Jackson, Davis, Morris as his running back, I think he has all the weapons surrounding him to have a great year.
All right, then we're going to jump down to the NFC South. Ryan, who do you have in this division?
I have the Buccaneers beating out the Saints and the Patriots.
A surprising pick there.
Yeah. I think McCown will earn the start because he deserves it after performance last year. They got 6'5" receivers. I mean, he played with big guys in Chicago. Now he's playing with bigger guys down in Tampa, Jackson and Evans. I think they'll have a good year.
And what about you guys there? Ryan going with a little bit of surprise there.
We talked about this earlier, but I actually agree with you with the Buccaneers. I think they have a pretty solid team. I mean, everything you said, with their wide receiver, so, yeah.
All right, NFC North. Packers,
there
Vikings.
we go.
Packers probably the favorite in this division, followed closely by the Bears.
Yeah, I mean, the Packers, I think, they're pretty solid every year. After they lost Brett Favre, I didn't really like them as much, but Packers are a pretty solid team.
You, Ryan?
Yeah, I'd say the Packers, unless somehow Jay Cutler, like Brandon Marshall advertised, will be the next MVP, which I'm very much doubting. I think it's the Packers.
All right, 2 picks for the Packers. And now, probably the hardest division to pick in football, featuring the NFC champions, the Seahawks, and their opponent in that championship game, the 49ers. Who do you have, Ryan?
I love the 49ers. I think they're going to take off this year. They're stronger, bigger, faster. I think this is their year.
No, I always stick with the champions. Seahawks won it this year, and I have no doubt that they're going to win it next year too.
All right, now we're going to whip over quickly to the AFC East. Who do you have in this one?
Patriots, no doubt. I mean, they rule it every year.
Yeah, Patriots also.
All right, AFC South.
I'm not sure actually.
Colts are the favorite.
No, I can't say, and then it's just AFC South. That's not my expertise.
Too close to call.
Colts. I mean, Andrew Luck's just amazing.
All right, AFC North. We're gonna start with you, Ryan. Probably Cincinnati's probably favorite in this division.
Yeah, probably Cincinnati. I mean, Dalton's probably confidence is high, and maybe even a little cocky now. So we'll see that.
Referring to Dalton's big deal. Now, how about you, Isaiah?
I'm gonna agree with him again.
Same show. All right, now we're gonna go to the AFC West with the Super Bowl contender Broncos, and a little bit of a disappointing finish for them. What do we think about the rebound for them?
Oh yeah, Peyton Manning. He's a competitor. He's really gonna come back, and I'm really surprised the Broncos lost to the 49ers because I had a lot of faith in them. That first play when the snap, it's when they got a safety. I think that really killed them, and maybe if that didn't happen, it would have been a different game. But Broncos are a really solid team, and I think they'll come back pretty strong next year.
I think it's going to be a tight race. I mean, their Super Bowl loss to the Seahawks was not very great, but I think Chargers and Chiefs will have a chance to dethrone them.
So Broncos?
I'm going to say Chargers.
Chargers. So 2 surprises from Ryan, and you picked the Bucs in the South as well. That's NFL Now. I'm Nick Kohler alongside Isaiah and Ryan, and thank you.
Hi, I'm Caroline Lynch with Gabby Rivas and Abby Dabbs with Sports Broadcasting Camp. Today we'll be breaking down some NFL teams. You want to go first, Aubrey?
Well, first I've got here is the Jaguars. This year they have had, they were looking forward to a great year with Gerhardt on the field, but he just recently got injured, adding to an 8th player on their team that is injured, 6 of which are receivers. I cannot believe the predicament that they're in. I mean, can you imagine having that?
Crazy.
Yeah, so they've got 6 receivers out, so now they've got 3 rookie receivers that are coming in. I mean, what do you think would be the best thing that they could probably expect out of these receivers, guys?
I think it'll be a challenge to get them ready for the big leagues. I mean, they're all 3 are rookies, but who knows? They might do well.
Yeah, I'm going to expect that because they're rookies, they're fresh meat that you can just kind of mold them into whatever they want to be. So that's what I'm really looking forward to seeing with these Jaguars this year.
Yeah, the older guys will go at them.
Yeah, that they'll kind of take to what they can learn, and I'm expecting the Jaguars to come up and do some amazing things. And then there's also the Redskins. They've got Deshaun Jackson now, and even though he's out with his twisted ankle, he's still going to come back just as strong. He's a fighter. I mean, I've seen him fight until the end.
Yeah.
So
very tough.
Yeah. What do you think? Yeah. Okay, what do you got over there, Gabby?
We're going to be talking about the Chargers. Previously making a playoff run last year under a fairly new head coach, Mike McCoy. I think he brings a new, good perspective to the team. We have got Brandon Flowers, his 7th season from Kansas City, so he's going to be a great addition. And Malcolm Floyd, wide receiver Malcolm Floyd, coming off his injury, his serious neck injury, and he's looking good. He looked good at training camp. Keenan Allen, 8 receiving touchdowns last year. He was a very solid player. And then we have Manti Te'o, probably the biggest story of the Chargers right now about the whole girlfriend thing. But he's a solid player coming back this year. I think he'll be really good. And then DJ Fluker, out of Alabama, super spirited, brings a lot of new energy to the team, and I think he'll be a really good addition to the Chargers' offense or defense.
Yeah. Do you have one more team?
Oh, yeah. You know, over here I've got some stuff on the Dolphins. They're also another team that they've had I guess we have a caller. Yes, caller?
Hi, this is Steve from Los Angeles. I was wondering, do you think the Chargers, is their season to take down the Broncos and win that division, the AFC West?
Yes, I do think that is going to happen. We have so many new key players that are very strong. New head coach, new perspective. They're going to have a really great year, I think. What do you think?
Well, I don't know. I mean, last year, Broncos, I think they're going to try and go. They're not going down without a fight after the Super Bowl game. I mean, you got to want to come back and get back up there somehow.
Yeah. I think the Chargers are going to try to get revenge on the Broncos from the last playoff game. Losing to them, going to want to fight back to get their spot.
Yeah. The Broncos are going to want to come back and try to win the Super Bowl, but it'll be an interesting game between the Broncos and Chargers.
I feel like whoever's there in the moment is going to really take it because both of them, they're both strong. I mean, without a doubt, there's strong teams completely this year. I mean, the new recruits that they've gotten in and everything, there's strong teams all over the NFL. So whether or not whoever comes out on top, it's just going to be who's there in the moment and who's got it for the day. I mean,
whoever wants it more is going to come out with the win because they can't just go in there and just be like, okay, I hope I win this game. They have to want it, and then, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with you guys. We'll see.
So this is Caroline Lynch with Gabby Rivas and Aubrey Dabbs from Sports Podcasting Camp.
Hello, I'm Jake Goodman, and welcome to the NFL Preview Show, along with my hosts,
Borna Nazari,
and JP Suarez.
All right, let's get started. For Offensive Rookie of the Year, Johnny Manziel or Storm Johnson, what do you think?
I say Johnny Manziel. Just what he brings to the table, the explosiveness. Even though Brian Hoyer may start a couple games, I feel like the Cleveland Browns fans will be eager to bring Manziel on the field, and he'll put on a show.
Do you agree or disagree?
I disagree. I'm picking a surprise here. Storm Johnson, the Jacksonville Jaguars, coming out of UCF. He's playing alongside his teammate Blake Bortles. I mean, he just has the name to be a great player. Storm Johnson, he's really quick off the line, never really fumbles. I think he can win Rookie of the Year.
All right, now the Defensive Rookie of the Year. I'll start with you.
For Defensive Rookie of the Year, I'll have to go with the number 1 pick, Jadeveon Clowney. Great player at South Carolina. Can make the tackles, can make the sacks. He's really quick for his size. I'm pretty sure that he will be winning Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, he is a good player, so I agree with it. I agree, but do you disagree?
I disagree. I think this guy who got picked by the Bengals is going to be a diamond in the rough. His name is DeQuan Denard. He went to Michigan State. He was a shutdown corner, their number 1. I think he's going to be the next Richard Sherman. People never thought he would be good. People just thought he would be a mediocre player, but DeQuan Denard's explosive, and he's going to be a great player.
All right, nice pick. All right, this is a campfire wait, but Super Bowl picks. Let's start with you.
You guys may think I'm crazy, but I say the San Diego Chargers. I think we're not going to win the division, but we're going to get the wild card. And Phillip Rivers, he's clutch in the playoffs. Going back to 2008, where they beat the Indianapolis Colts. Of course, they fell short against the Patriots, but I think the Chargers have enough this year. With the new coach and Mike McCoy, they have one of the best receiving corps. We got the diamond in the rough, Keenan Allen. We have Malcolm Floyd, and etc.
All right, so he picks Keenan Allen and Chargers. What do you choose?
No, I'm picking somebody from the same division, but not the Broncos, of course. I'm picking the Kansas City Chiefs with one of the greatest defenses in the NFL. Certainly, they have the loss of Brandon Flowers, but our defense is so versatile that they can play so many positions. Justin Houston, Tamba Hali, new rookie Dee Ford, Eric Berry. Also, we have one of the best players, and not to mention running backs, Jamal Charles, Alex Smith. The Chiefs just have a stacked team there, and I think they'll do really good and possibly win the Super Bowl.
All right, to the NFC East. Who do you think will win that division?
I think the Redskins are going to win that division, and I feel like the Giants are going to get the wild card in that division. I just feel like RG3 wasn't healthy last year. That's why he didn't have a successful year. His knee is 100%. He has a new weapon in Deshaun Jackson, and he still has Garcon, the 1-2 punch for the Redskins.
All right, JP, what do you think?
Dude, I couldn't agree more. Except, I don't think the Giants will get the wild card. I think Nick Foles can lead the Eagles. But I'm picking the Redskins to win this division. Of course, as you said, they got a great wide receiving corps with Deshaun Jackson and Pierre Garcon. Alfred Morris has just been playing great, and I think that they'll win their division.
All right, kind of disapproval there. All right, the AFC wildcard. Who do you think will take that?
Like I said earlier, the San Diego Chargers. The Denver Broncos are probably going to win that division. But San Diego, they're clutch in the playoffs, and they're going to grab that first wildcard spot out of, I'm assuming, 10-6, 11-5 record.
All right, JP, do you agree?
No, I do not agree. I think that, I think who will grab the AFC wildcard will be, I'm taking a surprise, the Buffalo Bills. E.J. Manuel, I think he'll play very well this season, and I just have high hopes for them.
All right, for the NFC wildcard, JP, let's start with you.
For the NFC wildcard, I would have to go with the. I would have to go with.
How about I'll say mine first?
Good.
For the NFC wildcard, I say the Seattle Seahawks, because I do believe the 49ers will win that division. If not, they'll have the same record, but I think the Niners will hold the tiebreaker.
Yeah, I agree with that. But what about the Giants? Don't they have a good? Aren't they in a good position to get the wild card?
You think so, JP?
No, I think the Eagles will actually get the wild card. Of course, the Cowboys will go 8-8 again. As I said before, Eagles got LaShawn McCoy, Nick Foles, and I think they'll grab the wild card spot.
All right, this has been the NFL Preview Show. I am Jake Goodman, along with
Born in Azari
and JP Suarez.
Good night.
Live from UCLA, I'm Robert Diaz, alongside me, Brandon and Jason, and today we're going to be previewing pretty much every division in the NFL, NFC to AFC. Brandon, I got to ask, NFC West this year looking pretty damn tough. You got all those defenses really stacked. Who do you pick in that one?
Well, you know, dude, oh, man, I've been losing sleep at night over that. It's either going to be, and I've worked it out to a science, it's either going to be Niners or Seahawks. Whoever doesn't get the division, first seed wild card, hands down.
Jason, do you agree with that?
I've had trouble picking the division, and really, I can see these two teams, the only losses are going to come to each other. So really, I don't even know what tiebreakers. I believe it goes in a tiebreaker on most points scored. So really, whichever offense is better, and that other team, like you said, is obviously going to get the first wild card. I see both these teams going 15-1.
15-1. Well, that's a really bold prediction here.
I was thinking more of the 14 and more of the 13-3, 12-4.
I think we can agree that 13-3 that's what the Patriots are going to be going this season. But
hands down,
let's move to the NFC South and let's go to Jason. Who's going to win it this year?
It's going to be the New Orleans Saints, no question. I mean, they had the same record as the Panthers last year, and the Panthers, I don't think they're going to be bad, but they took a huge step back. They lost a lot of receivers. 4 of their starting offensive linemen retired. Tampa Bay's on the rise, but they're not going to challenge the Saints for the division, and as well as the same thing with Atlanta. It's the Saints division to lose. They now have one of the best defenses in the NFL to go along with that top 3 offense.
Well, I think one of the best defenses in the NFL is quite the step up. I think they have one of the best offenses in the NFL. The defense still a little shaky, and that's what will separate them from making it to the Super Bowl, is their defense just isn't on par with the NFC West, but their offense might be enough to put them over the hump.
They had a top 5 defense last year, and then they bring in Champ Bailey and Jarius Byrd, and you have Kenny Vaccaro developing. That defense is getting a lot better, especially in the back end with the safeties.
But you hear that every year, and we haven't seen them make it to the championship game since they won the Super Bowl. So although they might be getting better every year, they get better.
They were a top 5 defense last year.
That's fantastic, but not in the postseason.
Okay, let's remember that they still have the Carolina Panthers in this division, and they did win it. And their defense came in clutch, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I got to ask, do the Panthers still have a chance in this division, or do the Saints make it all the way this year, or do they get cut short by the Seahawks? or even the 49ers or any other team.
It's one of those three teams, I just can't give you an answer right now. We just have to see, and luckily, Niners and Seahawks play tonight, their first preseason game. That'll give us a nice vision. It's just too close to call. It's too close to call. As a Niner fan, I'm saying it's too close to call.
The Panthers, the only chance they have of winning this division is if Cam Newton takes that next step to be in the top 5 quarterbacks, showing that he can truly lead a team without any talented receivers.
All right, let's move on to the NFC East really quick. We're going to wrap the NFC soon. The Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, this team, they give up Deshaun Jackson, but hey, you got Nick Foles. He had 27 touchdowns with 2 interceptions last season. What can Nick Foles do next season?
Well, they're going to have to really rely on Jeremy Maclin, who's hurt, and their new rookie Matthews, but they've got an explosive offense. I'm not worried about the offense. I'm at the point I'm sold on Nick Foles. What he did last year, not worried. Franchise QB, this year will show, but I think, yeah, absolutely. The biggest concern is their defense, and really no one in that division has a defense. So, I mean, I see the Eagles taking it, though.
I think this division has belonged to the New York Football Giants. I'm not trying to be biased here, but after a year of disappointment, Tom Coughlin's team, it's characteristic of them to bounce back. They added good piece to that offensive line. Rashad Jennings looked very good, as well as Andre Williams. They already have a stellar defense, which they add on.
Let's quickly move on to the NFC North. Jason, your prediction.
I think the Green Bay Packers are winning it. They were a good team last year. Rodgers was hurt, but they added a lot more pieces. Clinton Dix, Julius Peppers. They're really going to help that defense get back to what it used to be.
Brandon.
Packers take it. Bears, number 2 seed in the wild card, easily.
I agree with that about the Bears being the other wild card team.
It's a tough division.
All right, well, thank you for listening to NFL Preview Show. I'm Robert Diaz alongside Brandon and Jason. Have a great night.
Hello, I'm Eli Howe alongside my partner Charlie Downey. Today we're going to be discussing the NFL. First we'll have Vic or Smith. Then we're going to have the best quarterback in the league, then our division picks, and then our Super Bowl picks. Let's start with Vic or Smith. Who do you think is going to be the starting quarterback?
I actually have my money on Geno Smith just because Vic has a 30% pass rating under pressure. But when in the NFL are you not under pressure? And that's why when he's not under pressure, he's 70%. I still think that Geno Smith, he's younger and more flexible with the decision, but I have to go with Geno Smith just because he will get the job done.
I like both of these quarterbacks. I think Geno Smith is very good, and I think I actually don't even have my decision on who should start. But I think I'm leaning on Geno Smith just because he's younger, better pass completions. And if he doesn't do well, there's always Vic that can come in after. All right, now let's go to the best QB. Who do you think?
Like last year, nobody thought Peyton Manning would be the best quarterback in the league. I was really surprised that coming back from neck surgery, he had the year that he had. I think that I think Peyton Manning will be very good this season, and I think that Drew Brees will also be big. But I can't decide between them because they're both going to have monster seasons, I bet.
I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have a good season. Coming off that injury, he's going to want to show that he missed a lot of stuff in the league, and I think he wants to show now that I think people are forgetting about him, and he wants to show that he's the best quarterback still after the injury.
Well, I get that, but if you had to go with him, he doesn't really have any wide receivers, so I wouldn't go with Aaron Rodgers to be the best quarterback. I would go with Drew Brees or Peyton Manning because of the wide receivers.
Okay, now to our division picks. Who are you going to go for the NFC?
I want a rematch. I want a rematch of the Super Bowl. I want Broncos Seahawks. I don't care what they have to do, what teams they have to go through. I want a rematch. Okay. I want the Seahawks to win, but I would want the Broncos to at least score a touchdown.
Okay. So, I'm in the NFC. I like the 49ers, but I think one of the teams in the NFC East has a chance. Even though I'm a Giants fan, I think that the Redskins adding Deshaun Jackson and RG3 using his speed and also his passing can do some work, but I really think that it's going to be the the 49ers going to the Super Bowl. Now for the AFC, who do you think? Oh yeah, you said the Broncos. So
I already did that.
okay, I like the Broncos. I want to see Tom Brady go back to the Super Bowl one more time. I think he has a good chance. So now let's go to our Super Bowl. Who do you think for yours?
Well, I already said rematch. I really, really want Broncos Seahawks, but I still want the Seahawks to win like I did last time. But I want the Broncos to at least score a few more touchdowns because that score in the Super Bowl is just embarrassing. I mean, the Broncos just got lit up.
Okay, so between the 49ers and the Patriots, I love the 49ers, but I want Tom Brady to have another ring before he leaves the NFL. So I really think that's going to be how this season should end. Okay, so that's going to wrap up our show. I'm Eli Howell. This is Charlie Downey, and that's all. Have a good night.
I'm Matthew Kojima.
And I'm Louis Schmidt.
And we're from Preview of the NFL. Our first topic of today would be if RG3 could turn it around after a disappointing 2013.
I think he can. I think because he's so young, it's not like this guy has been doing this for 30 years now. I mean, he's still a young player, so I think he should still be able to manage it.
I kind of agree with you, but this year I don't think RG3 will be as good as we think he will be. He's still getting there. He's getting through those injuries. He's still inexperienced. But I think next year, not this year, but next year, he could be a top level quarterback and may catch up to Andrew Luck. Next topic, Johnny Manziel. What do you think about his behavior when he parties before the preseason?
It's way out of proportion. I mean, I think that's not a good work ethic by any means, and it's not a good example for upcoming college players who want to get into the NFL.
I think that Johnny Manziel needs to stop this. He's a professional now. He's not in college. He has people like Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees. He has to be able to get better than them. And by partying every day, he's not going to get better. He needs to wake up and start practicing. Next is, who do you think will be the best player in the NFL this year?
Well, by the way of the last Super Bowl, I think Russell Wilson's going to have a breakout year if he keeps his mindset the same. I don't think if he goes a little too overboard, like he's, the champion, then I think it could be a problem. But I think now he's going to be a little bit more determined.
I think that Peyton Manning is definitely going to be the best player. After that Super Bowl humiliation, he's definitely going to try hard, and he might be able to break the records that he broke last year. Overall, Peyton Manning, with his weapons, is the best quarterback in the NFL. And now we have a caller.
Hey guys, this is Brandon from Santa Clara, and I'm wondering, I'm a huge 49ers fan, and I'm wondering, does Colin Kaepernick have the ability to become MVP if he does put up the numbers and takes the 49ers back to the Super Bowl?
Colin Kaepernick is a very good quarterback. He's still working on his stuff. He's still young. Maybe next year or maybe 2 years from now, but as long as Peyton Manning is still in this league, I don't see that as being possible.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's a little bit too inexperienced. He is still having bumps in his road, and I think it's still kind of a rocky road.
So our next topic is going to be who wins the NFC.
I think it's going to be the Patriots. I just have this feeling that they're going to come back after all these years, and I think that's my team.
I'm going to agree with you on this one. I think that the Patriots will be able to beat Peyton Manning this year. So I think that in the AFC Championship, it's going to be between Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. Tom Brady is a great quarterback and is very close to the abilities of Peyton Manning. And with Rob Gronkowski back, I think that's going to be that extra step he needs to get back to the Super Bowl. And next is NFC champion.
I think the Steelers.
That's AFC.
I mean, because
I think they're dying to get back to the playoffs.
I think it's going to be a Seahawks over. I'm going to say that San Francisco and Seahawks are going to play each other again. But Seahawks have the best defense in the league, no doubt. When you have the best defense, you're going to go far. Finally, the Super Bowl. Who's going to win the Super Bowl?
Well, I think the Patriots, if they get in it, they're going to win it.
I'm going to disagree. I think that it's going to be the Seahawks all over again. Like in every sport, defense wins championships, but offense wins. Or it's actually the opposite way, but defense will win the Super Bowl. And I don't even know if it'll be close. It might be another blowout from last year, but this Seahawks team is the best around. I'm Matthew Kojima.
And I'm Lewis Schmidt.
And this is Preseason NFL.
Welcome into the NFL preview show. I'm Daniel West with Nate Morales, what he said, and Nick Kwong. Today we're discussing the previews of the NFL position-wise. So, guys, who do you think is going to be the best quarterback this year?
Well, I believe that Drew Brees is poised to have a really big year this year. He's hungry to get back to being in the conversation of being the top quarterback, and he's added he's gone back a lot of his targets from last year, so he has the chemistry to work with them before.
Has he added any new people that you know of? Any new players offensive-wise?
They've added. I think the Saints they really revamped on the defensive end.
Okay, all right. How about you, Nate?
Like he said, the Saints didn't really do anything in the offseason. They've worked on the defense, but we're talking about quarterbacks right now. We're talking about people that have a good wide receiver, offensive line, running backs where they can rely on, and a good quarterback with accuracy and power. And with all the good quarterbacks now, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Cam Newton, Matthew Stafford, Andrew Luck, just naming some, and Aaron Rodgers, they're just an amazing team. But to me, the best person is Peyton Manning, because if you look at the quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers, there's Randall Cobb, and Eddie Lacy. Drew Brees, he has Marquise Colston, who's really good, Jimmy Graham, and Cam Newton, who has Brandon LaFell. He might not be the best, but he's good. What Peyton Manning works with they're not the best superstars, but they're just enough to help him. And with such a good quarterback skill, they've been doing amazing. That's why Peyton Manning broke several records for quarterbacks, so I think he's the best.
All right, thanks very much. All right, let's go to the other side of the ball, the defense end. Who's going to be the best defense in the National Football League?
I believe that it'll be the Seahawks again this year. That I think now that they've locked up Earl Thomas and Richard Sherman to long-term contracts, I believe that they really didn't lose anyone other than a couple of defensive linemen, but seeing how the Seahawks just replaced everyone and it's basically on rotation, I think they might lose a step or two, but overall I think they'll be a very good defense as well.
I agree with you. They might lose a step because last year they were just amazing. That was almost a one in a lifetime. Not one in a lifetime, but that was a very small chance. So I agree with him. They're still going to be the best defense with Earl Thomas, Richard Sherman, they're Bobby Wagner, Cliff Averill with a good defensive line and good linebackers, good corners, good everything on defense. But they might lose a step. 49ers can surpass them this year with the firepower they have and the skill they have and the game plan they have. But Seahawks, their defense, definitely going to overpower any defense. And they might be able to go maybe 12-4, 13-3.
Okay, thank you. That was my next thing. While we have a little bit of time, I'll switch over to you now. I was going to ask maybe who are the runners-up? Maybe, you talk about the best quarterback and the best defense, but who are maybe the second best quarterback, the second best defense? You kind of answer that.
That's a good question. So should I answer?
Yeah, for you.
For quarterback, we have, like I said, a bunch of talent, but I think Matthew Stafford. People say Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees, but like I said, you don't need a superstar, but some teams they do. He has Calvin Johnson. Calvin Johnson's phenomenal. He's an amazing catcher, super tall, super fast, just phenomenal with Matthew Stafford, and their connection is one of the most powerful duos of all time. He might not be good, but with his accuracy and the connection, he's just good. And for the defense, I'm going to say the Packers. They've picked up some good players in the offseason, and they've picked up many good players. With Eddie Lacy, who's going to be a huge scoring threat, growing into the team, and Aaron Rodgers getting a bunch of passes, going to get quick touchdowns. Defense going to come back on. Little vest, keep on fighting. They might not be the best, but they're still going to do amazing.
All right, and quickly here, you agree with them or your own thing?
Well, for my second best quarterback, I'll have to say Tom Brady, because he might not have all the weapons that like some guys like Drew Brees and Peyton Manning have, but looking at last year, he did have a very good season, considering he didn't have that many good wide receivers. And for my second best defense, I'd have to say the Panthers, because Luke Kuechly has really become a star, and I think they're really starting to improve.
All right.
So you're just following ESPN Fantasy Football, aren't you?
No.
All right, that's all the time we have for today. For Nick Huang and Nate Morales, this is Daniel West. We'll see you later.